When Mars, the planet of action, desire, and raw kinetic energy, takes up residence in the 10th house, the highest point of the natal chart, it creates a personality defined by an unrelenting drive for mastery. The 10th house, traditionally associated with Capricorn and Saturn, governs our public reputation, career trajectory, and how we author our lives. When the fire of Mars meets the structure of this house, the result is often a person who views their career not just as a job, but as a battlefield to be conquered or a mountain to be climbed. The architect of ambition. Individuals with Mars in the 10th house are rarely content to follow. They are biologically and psychologically wired to lead. This placement suggests a person who possesses an immense reservoir of stamina aimed directly at their professional goals. While others might be satisfied with a steady paycheck, the Mars in 10th native is looking for the next promotion, the next expansion, or the next opportunity to prove their competence. They are the engines of the professional world, highly efficient, fiercely competitive, and often incredibly courageous when it comes to taking calculated risks that others shy away from. Leadership and the need for autonomy. Because the 10th house represents authority figures, Mars here can create a complex relationship with the boss. These individuals often struggle under micromanagement or rigid hierarchies where they aren't the ones calling the shots. This isn't necessarily a sign of rebellion for rebellion's sake, but rather an innate need for autonomy. They function best when they are the pioneers of their own projects or when they occupy a position where their decisive nature is an asset rather than a threat to the status quo. If they don't find a constructive outlet for this energy, they may find themselves in frequent power struggles with superiors. Public reputation and the warrior persona. Your public face with this placement is one of strength and vigor. People likely perceive you as someone who is energetic, direct, and perhaps a bit formidable. You are known as a doer. However, Mars is a double-edged sword. While it grants the grit necessary to achieve high status, it can also lead to a reputation for being overly aggressive, impulsive, or blunt. The challenge for a Mars in the 10th native is to learn the art of diplomacy, learning that while a hammer is great for building a house, it's not always the best tool for managing a team. The psychological roots, the father and authority. In traditional astrology, the 10th house often reflects the influence of the dominant parent, frequently the father. Mars here can indicate a parent who was a high achiever, a disciplinarian, or perhaps someone who was quite demanding or even volatile. This often instills a deep-seated belief that one's worth is tied to their achievements. The drive to succeed is frequently a way of asserting independence from that parental figure or, conversely, a way of gaining the validation that was only given for winning. Navigating potential pitfalls. The primary shadow of Mars in the 10th is burnout and the win-at-all-costs mentality. Because the ego is so closely tied to professional output, a setback in the career can feel like a devastating personal defeat. There is also a risk of making enemies on the way up. The sheer velocity at which these individuals move can leave others feeling steamrolled. Learning to integrate the patient, strategic energy of the 10th house's natural ruler, Saturn, is the key to longevity. When Mars provides the fuel and Saturn provides the engine, the native becomes an unstoppable force of nature. Ultimately, Mars in the 10th house is the mark of a person who is here to make a visible impact on the world. They are the builders of industries and the defenders of their own legacies. By channeling their aggression into disciplined action and their competitive spirit into self-improvement, they don't just reach the top of the mountain, they own it. When Mars sits in the 10th house, the how of your ambition is dictated by the zodiac sign it occupies. This sign acts as the engine oil for your professional drive, determining your style of leadership and how you handle the heat of the public eye. The fire signs, the pioneers. Aries, this is Mars in its home territory. Here, the drive is raw, fast, and uncompromising. You likely seek to be the first in your field, often excelling as an entrepreneur or a trailblazer. The challenge is finishing what you start once the initial thrill of the hunt fades. Leo, ambition is tied to a need for recognition and creative authority. You lead with flair and expect to be the center of your professional universe. You are a natural boss who thrives when you can protect and inspire your team, though you must watch for my way or the highway ego. Sagittarius, your career is a quest for truth or expansion. You are the visionary leader who hates being pinned down by corporate red tape. You seek a public role that involves teaching, travel, or big-picture philosophy, often taking huge risks for the sake of freedom. The earth signs, the builders. Taurus, you are the steady climber. Your ambition is fueled by a desire for material security and tangible results. You move slower than other Mars placements, but you are nearly impossible to stop once you've set your sights on a goal. You value quality and legacy over quick wins. Virgo, professional drive is expressed through precision and service. You find your power in being the most competent person in the room. You likely climb the ladder by mastering the technical details that others overlook, though you can be a perfectionist taskmaster to those under you. Capricorn, Mars is exalted here, meaning it functions at its highest potential. You have a cold, calculated, and incredibly disciplined approach to success. You aren't interested in the spotlight as much as you are interested in actual power and long-term structural dominance. The air signs, the strategists. Gemini, your career path is likely multifaceted or involves communication and data. You are a multitasker who thrives in fast-paced environments where networking is key. Your challenge is a scattered focus. You may have 3 different careers at once, fueled by a restless intellect. Libra, this is a complex placement. Mars is in its detriment here. You are a social warrior, often finding success in law, PR, or mediation. Your ambition is driven by a need for justice or aesthetic perfection, though you may struggle with being nice versus being effective. Aquarius, you are the revolutionary. Your career is often unconventional or tech-oriented. You work best when you are fighting for a cause or disrupting a stale industry. You lead with logic rather than emotion and aren't afraid to be the odd one out in your professional circle. The water signs, the intuitive forces. Cancer, your drive is fueled by a need to protect and provide. You are a tenacious leader who treats your colleagues like family, for better or worse. Your professional energy fluctuates with your moods, but when you feel emotionally invested, your protective claws make you a formidable negotiator. Scorpio, here, Mars is intensely focused and strategic. You are the silent power behind the scenes, often drawn to careers involving research, psychology, or high-stakes finance. You don't just want a job, you want total mastery and the ability to see through everyone else's secrets. Pisces, your ambition is often subtle or undercover. You may find success in the arts, healing, or behind-the-scenes work. You are a chameleon in the workplace, moving toward your goals through intuition and flow rather than brute force. You work best when your career feels like a spiritual calling. When Mars transits your 10th house, the planet of action crosses the threshold into the most visible part of your chart. If the natal placement is a lifelong blueprint for ambition, the transit is a temporary surge of high-voltage electricity through your professional life. It typically lasts about 6 to 7 weeks, unless Mars is retrograding, and it marks a period where you are no longer content to sit on the sidelines. The professional sprint. During this transit, your physical and mental energy is diverted toward your public standing and career goals. This is often the time when you feel a sudden, undeniable urge to do something about your status. You might find yourself working longer hours, initiating new projects, or finally having the guts to pitch that radical idea to your superiors. There is a sense of urgency now. The later you've been promising yourself suddenly becomes now. It is an excellent window for launching a business, applying for a promotion, or physically reorganizing your workspace to maximize efficiency. Visibility and the hot seat. The 10th house is like a stage with the spotlight turned to maximum brightness. Under this transit, your actions are noticed more than usual. This is a double-edged sword. If you are working hard and leading with integrity, this is when you receive accolades, luck, and recognition. However, if you are cutting corners or harboring resentment, that friction will also be amplified. You are louder to the world right now. your directness can be seen as refreshing confidence or, if you aren't careful, as unnecessary aggression. Conflict with authority. Mars represents the warrior, and the 10th house represents the king, bosses, parents, or the government. When Mars passes through here, the potential for ego clashes with authority figures skyrockets. You may feel that your boss is moving too slowly, or you may suddenly chafe against rules that felt tolerable just a month ago. The psychological urge during this transit is to prove that you are the master of your own fate. If you feel stifled, this transit often brings boiling point moments where you might quit a job impulsively or confront a supervisor. Strategic channeling. The key to navigating a Mars transit in the 10th is calculated output. Because you have more adrenaline than usual, you need a constructive place to put it. Physicalizing the drive. Since Mars rules the muscles, the stress of a high-pressure career transit can manifest as tension. Increasing your exercise routine during these weeks helps drain the excess aggression so you don't take it out on your coworkers. The midheaven crossing. The moment Mars crosses your midheaven, the cusp of the 10th house, is the peak. This is often the day or two when a major event occurs, a confrontation, a breakthrough, or a decisive choice that changes your trajectory. In short, a Mars transit through the 10th house is a call to arms for your career. It demands that you stop dreaming and start executing. It is not a time for subtlety or patience, it is a time for bravery, provided you remember that burning bridges is much easier than building them. Subscribe, like, and share.